Hey guys, we are going to be finishing up this chapter on comparing two numerical patterns. So book page 685 is where we're going to start. So just to do a quick paper pencil practice, describe at least two relationships you see between these numbers. So you could look at the relationship going down the pattern. You could look at the relationship going for corresponding terms using that vocabulary word. But list two things that you see. Remember to pause the video and then restart it when you're ready. So if you're doing the pattern of A, then it increased by 3 each time. If you did the pattern of B, it increased by 9. And then if you did the corresponding terms for pattern A and B, from 3 to 9 was times 3, and 6 to 18 was times 3. So those would be 3 times greater each time. Okay? All right, in level 1 of a video game, you earn 2 points for each monster. In level 2, you earn 8 points for each ghost you catch. Compare the number of points in level 2 to the number of points in level 1. So you can draw a vertical chart, hopefully nicer than Miss Beria is doing, a vertical chart listing your ghost, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and your monster, and then for each one, the corresponding value of them. So if you have 0, then the value would be 0, and we're on this one right here for the monster. If you had 1, then it would be worth 2 points, and if you had 2, so keep filling in that chart, and then do the same thing over here for your ghost. Okay, so a much nicer chart. If you had 0 monsters, then you had 0 points. 1 monster was 2, 2 monsters was 4. So this one we were counting by 2 or adding 2 each time. For the second level, we were adding 8 each time going down. But this one was asking us to compare them, and compare them would be using those corresponding. So you can see I drew an arrow from 2 to 8 and 4 to 16. So what are we doing? How many times greater is that 2 compared to that 8? So 2 times 4 will give us 8. And let's check it with the rest. 4 times 4 was 16. 6 times 4 is 24. So the points earned for catching ghost in level 2 are 4 times the points earned for catching in level 1. All right, so the next one is using a diagram to show the terms. So you can see that this one, the terms are listed out horizontally for the 2 different levels. And then using that, fill in this chart for level 1 and this side of the chart for level 2. And then down here, it talks about the total number of points in level 1 increases by 2. So we're increasing by 2. And the total number of points for level 2 increased by 8. So go ahead and fill in that chart. All right, so that is what your chart should look like. Again, counting by 2 and counting by 8. So for number 1, looking at level 1 and level 2, what is the rule we just talked about? How did you fill in that chart? What did you do for level 1 and what did you do for level 2? Number 2, we did complete the chart already, so that one's completed. And number 3, use the table to describe the relationship between the corresponding terms. So again, you're looking at level 1 compared to level 2, and what is that relationship? And then number 4 is saying, well, suppose the game has a third level, and you get 10 points for each giant caught in level 3. So you would need to draw another table next to the table you already have, create that table, and this time each one is worth 10, so you'd be counting by 10, and then compare them compared to level 1. So for number 1, each number increased by 2, where we added 2 would be the rule. And then number 2, we added 8, or level 2. Number 2 was on the table already. So for number 3, we use the table to describe the relationship. So I'm going to go back to that chart real quick, and let's look at that relationship. If you're going from level 1 to level 2, how much times greater is that? Well, it's 4 times greater, because 2 times 4 would give you 8. And again, you could check it down, let's say way down here, 10 times 4 is 40. So again, that is the rule. All right, so for the next question, it asks you, well, what happens if you did a level 3 and they were worth 10 points? So if a level 3, it would be easier just to put it next to the chart that's already existing. So we have a 0 to start with, and then we had a 10, and then we had a 20. And the question was asking, well, what is it if you compare level 1 to level 3? Okay, so look at those corresponding terms. What are you multiplying times 4 to get 20? Okay, so on that one, it was 5 times. So 4 times 5 was 20, and 2 times 5 was 10, and so it was 5 times greater. Okay, number 6. School magnets cost $4 and shirts cost $24. Write a pattern for the cost of 0 to 5 magnets and a pattern for the cost of 0 to 5 shirts. So you can do, when it says write a pattern, your pattern can just go this direction, going across. So you could start with your magnet cost, and so your pattern would start with 4, and then your shirt cost, the pattern would start with 24. Or you can do it in the chart like we've been doing. Just make sure that you are corresponding it to, if you have 0, and create 2 charts. So you can do it as a list, or you can do it as a chart. Either one is correct. Okay, so fill that in. You have a school magnet chart and a shirt chart, and then we'll compare the corresponding terms. Okay, so they did the list. So you can see here's the list for the magnets counting by 4s, and here's the list for the shirts counting by 24. And the question was asking, how do the corresponding terms in the second pattern? So this would be the first pattern, the 0. This is the second pattern. So we're comparing the second one to the second one. So when you're looking at those two, how do they correspond? Well, what do you multiply times 4 to get 24? And that would be times 6. So the pattern is 6 times the corresponding pattern. And that would work for all of them. 8 times 6 would be 48, and 12 times 6 would be 72. So it works all the way down the entire pattern. Number 7, Tom and Aaron write number patterns. Tom uses the rule add 3 and starts at 12. Aaron uses the rule subtract 4 and starts at 26. So write the first 5 terms in their pattern. Again, your patterns can go vertical like this. Your patterns can go horizontal like this, but you need to draw 2 patterns. One that starts with 12 and adds 3 each time, and then one that starts with 26 and subtracts 4 each time. Remember to put your term at the top. So 0 would be a 0. 1 for the first one would be 12, and then add 3 through it. And then the second one, again, you're doing 26, but on this one, you're not adding each time, you're going to subtract and create the pattern. And it wants you to do the first 5 terms. So you need to have 5 numbers in that pattern, okay? So this one was a horizontal pattern. So you can see that you have Tom's pattern and you have Aaron's pattern for 1, for 2, for 3, all right? So Tom's pattern, we added 3 each time. Aaron's pattern, we subtracted 4 each time. And then it asks for what number appears in both patterns. So which number appears as a term in both patterns once you completed the term? It would have been 18. All right, so this is our practice page before our test. So please make sure you're trying to complete this on your own to see that you are ready for your test. All right, the first one, look at the example. What is the cost of 6 decals? So you're going to have to extend out your pattern in your chart for the 6th one and tell me what is the cost for the 6 of them. And we're talking about decals, okay? And then look at the example. How are the terms in the pattern for the cost of decals related to the corresponding terms? And again, corresponding terms are the cost of the laces and the cost of the decals. Okay, so what are you doing to relate those 2 terms? All right. So number one, if you filled in for 6 items, the cost of the decal was $30. And it asked, explain how you got it. Well, this pattern is 5, so you multiplied, added another 5 to it, okay? And then number 2, the terms in the pattern are 5 times greater, so 5 times what is 25? 5 times 5. And that should work for all corresponding terms. 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times. So it works all the way down. Remember, we never just do one. We have to check them all to make sure it works. And it does. So on that one, it's 5 times greater. All right, number 3, suppose the school bookmarks cost $3. Complete the table. So counting by 3, complete the table, and then show how the terms in the pattern compare in the corresponding terms. So what is the corresponding term between these? And then number 4, how do the corresponding terms of the 2 patterns compare? So write down how are they corresponding. So fill in the chart, and then number 4, write how they're corresponding. So filling in the chart, adding 3 each time, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and corresponding 4 to 12 or 3 to 9 or 2 to 6. What am I doing each time that corresponds them? I'm multiplying it times 3 or making it 3 times greater. I don't know where those lines are coming from, but whatever. Okay, and then the last one, number 5 and number 6. Look at the problem 3. Again, we filled it in on the last page. What is the rule for finding the cost? So what did we do each time? Again, our rule is add, subtract, multiply, divide. What am I doing each time? And then number 6, use that rule to check these numbers and see, do any of these, could they be on that chart? Are they following the rule that you said for corresponding terms? Okay. We have bookmarks and then corresponding term. What did we multiply by? That's what you're checking on number 6. And again, this one said the values. So it's going to be more than 1, okay? All right, so counting by 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, we added 3 each time to fill in the bookmarks. And then again, corresponding terms, 4 times 3 gave us 12. So if these terms that are A, B, C, D, E, and F are corresponding, that means that I should be able to multiply times 3. Well, 8 times 3 is not 21, so that one doesn't work. 10 times 3 is 30. 12 times 3 is 36. 15 times 3 is not 60. 16 times 3 is not 24. And then 20 times 3 is 60. All right, I really hope you're doing great on this. This is our last lesson before our test, so you need to go over all of your work for week 1 and week 2. This is all order of operations and patterns that will be on your test. Make sure your test is taken before 9 a.m. Friday morning. Good luck, guys.